Okay, we are getting into part 6. Proposal. Morning came and still I was lacking for good ideas. I ate breakfast and went to the entrance hall. As I would on any other water day, and spied 2 friendly faces among the gathered students, one with light green hair and the other with bright orange. Cantrips and Rosentark would be escorting me to class. You appear to have been deep in thought, Cantrip said to me. I don't know about that, but you look tired, Rosentark added. Did you not eat enough this morning? They both extended their hands to me. I said nothing to Cantrip, who was right on the mark, and glared at Rosentark, for that was not something to say to a lady. Perhaps it is you who has not eaten enough, I shot back. I'm going to be quiet. Yes, perhaps. It seems that nothing can satiate me as of late, which is strange, as we strain for less here than we do back home. Far less here than we do back home. The chefs complain that no matter how hard they work, it is never enough. Now, Lady Hannelore, the apprentice knight paused, then shook his head. Never mind. Let us go. My 2 suitors took my hands and we headed to class. I could tell that Rosentark still wanted to say something, and eventually he tried to speak his mind again. Lady Hannelore, might your schedule be open next Earth Day? My friends went to the gazebos the other day, and they spoke at length about how breathtaking the blooming schmalooms were against the snow. Ideally, I should like to see them with you. No! You are not going there with her. You are not going to try anything. Mm-mm. My eyes widened. The solution to my troubles had been right under my nose. Of course. There could be no better venue than where the goddess of time plays her tricks. The gazebos in question were located past the Scholar Building. There, the time spent between lovers passed so quickly that many thought Dragoner was to blame. The structures were rather small, too small to accommodate 2 people's retinues, so Archduke candidates used them for more intimate conversations. They were not totally private, of course, as the visitors' retainers would wait only a short distance away, but their value could not be ignored. A proposal was far more likely to succeed at a gazebo. Oh, I still say you should at least tell Cordula that your intentions, at least, so that way she can make sure to keep Wilfried's retinue kind of distracted, maybe. So when they see you jump him, they ain't gonna go and automatically attack. I now knew where I would make my move. The problem was figuring out how to invite him there in the first place. The gazebos were known as a romantic destination. Asking him outright would only arouse suspicion. How concerning. Perhaps because a true Zent has risen to power, the gardens are more abundant than before, and there are more useful gazebos, Rosentark explained, so how about it? I admire your enthusiasm, but maybe this isn't the best time to ask her, Cantrip said. Lady Hannelore looks petrified. Not really. Hearing my name snapped me back to my senses. My retainers all wore troubled smiles. Rosentark, Cordula said, clearly vexed. Do you really think she could accept such an invitation with Cantrip's present? The apprentice knight almost reeled at the attack, but he already had his time alone with Lady Hannelore. Not really, considering her retainers were right there, just with the sound blocker. You know? It's not like the two of them were alone. An interrogation in the dormitory is by no means the same as visiting a gazebo, my head attendant continued. That said, there is some truth to your complaint. Milady, if you have not settled on Cantrip as your fiancé, then you should treat him and Rosentark equally. I paused and thought, I cannot help but feel that my chance meeting with Cantrips is being exploited. Nonetheless, one still needs to schedule arrangements of this nature. Might we wait until after dinner 3 days from now? Absolutely, Rosentark said, positively beaming. Cantrip sighed. He must have interpreted my response as more of my usual indecision. Our retainers would not be with us during lectures, leaving me to no better chance to speak with Lord Wilfried. Lord Orwin had used that very same opening to propose to me. Oh, this is going to be interesting. How are you going to do this? Maybe you could get Rosemine's help, get her to distract everybody, so then you could go and talk to Wilfried somewhat in private, because everybody else is going to be watching what Rosemine's doing. You know? Maybe you could get her help with that. To at least ask him to go to the gazebo. If our conversation goes well, we might not even need to visit the gazebos. Securing time alone with him might be easier than I think. The ideas that had refused to come to me when I was agonizing alone in my room now came freely. My spirit started to rise. Perhaps at long last Dragana, the goddess of time, had given me her blessing. I shall make sure to thank her with a prayer. Don't get too hasty on that. Wait until this is actually played out and then thank her. Because if you thank her too early, you might end up going wrong. Before anything else, I needed to look into Ehrenfest's internals and ask Lord Wilfrid whether I could speak with him after class. There is no sense in proposing if his duchy's stance on marriage has not changed. It had not been too long ago that Ob Ehrenfest had expressed a complete lack of interest in accepting wives from greater duchies. I went over to Lord Wilfrid as soon as I entered the classroom. Lord Wilfrid, might I have a moment of your time? I wish to ask about Ob Ehrenfest's policy on engagements. Of course, he said. What do you want to know? I'm surprised that nobody even followed her over there. I mean, then again, she just said her retainers can't follow her to some of her classes, so I mean, this is her best chance, yeah. Grateful that he had not cut our conversation short, deeming it an improper subject for class, I continued. There is someone in Dunkelberger who wishes to marry an Ehrenfest noble. I would like to know your duchy's thoughts on such an arrangement. She does have a point. She's not talking about herself. She's talking about Edward. Preferably before socializing season. In truth, I tried to ask yesterday during my tea party with Lady Rosamund, but she could not answer due to her status as Ob Alexandria. I suppose not, Lord Wilfrid said, then smiled as if having remembered something. What is it, I asked. I was just thinking that when Uncle first went to Arensbuck, we had to scold Lady Rosamund for carelessly leaking Ehrenfest intel to him. It would seem she learned her lesson. Not really. He looked contemplative for a moment, then I spied a glimmer in his dark green eyes. This might become a rather involved conversation. Could we perhaps continue it after class? He had taken the words right out of my mouth. While devoting a silent prayer to Dragana, I said, certainly, I would not mind that at all. Professor Anastasius would scold us if we were mid-conversation when he arrived. Yep, he would. He would. And he has. Multiple times. Oh, absolutely. We were laughing together when Lord Ortwin entered the classroom. As he came toward us, Lord Wilfrid waved a hand and concluded our conversation. Good morning, Wilfrid, Lady Hannelore. Good morning, Lord Ortwin, I said. I am told you had a tea party with Lady Rosamund yesterday. How fares Alexandria? Lady Rosamund is doing her utmost with support from Lord Ferdinand, but as I cannot elaborate here, I shall return to my desk. Flattered though I was by Lord Ortwin's confession, Father had already selected my suitors for me. I mean, you're still going after Wilfrid, so I mean, yeah. I thought it best to keep my distance, so I exchanged only the usual greetings before taking my leave. Ortwin, lend me your ear, Lord Wilfrid said as I departed, his excitement clear in his voice. I cannot help but envy how close they were. I mean, they're friends. I would assume they're friends. Or at least Wilfrid probably would consider him a friend. Excuse me, you were going to the gazebos with 2 other Archduke candidates? Our retainers could not believe their ears when I informed them of our plans. To be honest, I was surprised too. I could not wrap my head around why Lord Ortwin was coming with us. Oh, this is going to be awkward! Oh no! Oh no, how are you going to do this with him around? Oh, no. Someone's going to have to keep him distracted. Someone is going to have to keep him distracted. I don't know how the heck you're going to do this. We need to work a few things out before socializing begins, Lord Wilfrid explained. To prevent any unwelcome misconceptions that would come from Lady Hannelore and me going alone, Lord Ortwin has agreed to tag along. I mean, that makes sense. It makes complete sense. If there was another girl going as well as Ortwin. Because then they wouldn't have as big of a... They could just say that they're all meeting together as friends or classmates. Could this matter not be settled over a tea party, his retainers asked. Lord Wilfrid shook his head and smiled. I'm afraid not. I hear the Schmelooms. What the fuck are up with some of these names? What the fuck? Around the gazebo are in bloom, and I've yet to have an opportunity to see them. I mean... oh dear. Rosentarek, you're not gonna like this. His tone brooked no protest, leaving his retainers to express their exhaustion through facial expressions alone. Do you agree to this, milady? Cordula asked me. I had no choice but to nod. On behalf of Luitpold, I wish to consult with Ehrenfest about their stances on marriages with greater duchies, I explained. Lord Wilfrid proposed that we continue the conversation after our lesson. I assumed he meant in the classroom. Cordially swallowed down the urge to rebuke me. In the presence of so many nobles from other duchies, she could do nothing to stop what had already been set in motion. She doubtless wished to say that it did not matter whether such a meeting was held in the classroom or a gazebo, and she would when she would inevitably lecture me back at the dormitory. Please, that is terrifying. My head attendant was right in her evaluation. I wanted to speak with Lord Wolfrid away from my retainers to better understand the situation in Ehrenfest and obtain the engagement task I so desired. So the classroom and the gazebo were both perfectly appropriate choices. The problem was that I had never expected Lord Ortwin to join us. I mean, like I said, it makes sense because if you two go by yourselves, people are going to be assuming things. And you don't want that to get around, especially if Wilfrid rejects your proposal. You really don't want that to come around. Lord Wolfrid, Lord Ortwin Kentrip said, as one of Lady Hannelore's chosen suitors, I must ask that you allow me to join you. If you cannot, then you will need to reschedule the meeting for another day. Kentrips, I muttered. Kentrips, we're trying to do something here. Why don't you at least tell Kentrips what's going on? Because he was offering to help you get into another duchy if you didn't want to stay in Dunkelfelder. Why don't you get his help? Get him at least on your side of this. Get him on the same page as you. As both her potential fiancé and a student of Dunkelfelder, I cannot allow Lady Hannelore to go somewhere that might damage her reputation, not without an escort. Lord Wolfrid exchanged a look with Lord Ortwin, then nodded. I mean, yes, he should go with you, considering he can keep Lord Ortwin busy. If you just let him in on the plan. You are welcome to accompany us. We have no desire to tarnish Lady Hannelore's honor. And so I started toward the gazebo with my two fellow Archduke candidates. 3 groups of retainers came with us. Lady Hannelore, thank you for setting aside this time to speak with me, Lord Wolfrid said. No, thank you. It was I who inquired in the first place. I appreciate the invitation to join you, Lord Ortwin added. Jawanko is very much interested in your duchy's current attitudes. I glanced at Kentrips, who walked silently beside me. He slid something small and round into the palm of my hand. A sound blocker. Oh, he knows! He figured it out! Please focus your attention on Lord Wolfrid, he murmured. I shall distract Lord Ortwin. Yes! Kentrips, you're a good wingman. You're a good wingman. Yes. Yes. I stole quick looks at the 2 boys in question. Based on their complete lack of a reaction, I assumed that what Kentrips had given me was a sound blocker. Whatever do you mean? I asked, attempting to play dumb. Do you really expect that to work? This morning and during dinner last night, you had the countenance of a knight preparing for dinner. Are my intentions that obvious? If they were, then Cordial would already have dragged you back to the dormitory. Not that obvious, but obvious enough that he could have figured it out. It seemed that Kentrips intended to aid me without informing the others, a most dangerous act considering my father's wish to keep me in the duchy. I cannot understand why he would take such a risk. It makes no sense, because he cares about you. He wants you to be happy in whatever you end up picking, and if you're happiest outside of the duchy and with somebody else, he wants to help you with that. That shows how much he really does care. Still, I chose not to ask any further questions. Rather than interrogate Kentrips, I needed to capitalize on the singular chance to propose to Lord Wolfrid. Oh, I'm so excited to see what will happen. I had thought I would need to face this battle alone, so having an ally to support me warmed my heart. I appreciate it, I said. Please do your best to keep Lord Ortwin busy. Please. He will consider it to mean you have rejected him. Is that acceptable? He was very kind, and I do not wish to hurt him, but I cannot squander what might be my only chance to propose to Lord Wolfrid. True. I mean, this is all really political. Most of it's political in anyway, because I'm assuming that's what Lord Ortwin is doing anyway, is political. That he wants to be able to be Jawanko so he can not only keep his sister safe, but take control of his own, his own choices, because he's not really getting a choice. So he wants to be able to take this chance, and I guess he sees Lady Hannelore as the best option for him. Then I shall provide my full support, Kentrips declared, and retrieved the sound blocker from me. We passed through the Scholar Building and emerged outside, in an area completely free of snow. Herb gardens spread out before us, and beyond them a vast field of vibrant flowers. The white stone underfoot guided us in the direction of several gazebos. I had seen this place from above while passing on my high beast, but this was my first time approaching on foot. So which is the gazebo by the Schmalooms? I have to pause just to make sure I don't say it wrong. Lord Wolfrid asked, cocking his head. There were quite a few to choose from. Lady Rosamund had said the Royal Academy was once a holy land where the original Zens lived. These large gazebos must have been where they came to hold events and rest. I have never seen a Schmaloom before, I said. How do they look? Yeah, you might even pass them, not even realizing that that's them. I assumed they would be hard to find, but Kentrips and Lord Orwin both pointed to a singular gazebo. Oh? You know where the gazebo is, Kentrips? I asked. I do. It's the same one Rosentark wished to show you this morning. We might not be alone, but I feel a tad awkward about being here instead, considering my role in thwarting his plans. Yep. He's not going to be happy about that. Oh my god. Oh boy, I don't know. He's not going to be happy about this, because you're essentially not picking either of them, and he's not getting picked essentially. So yeah, he's not going to be happy about this. But what should matter most is what you decide. It's your choice after all. Because her father could easily have, told her, hey, you're going to marry this person, you don't get a choice. But she's given a choice. I thought back to Rosentark's enthusiasm and sighed, he will surely be furious. Yep. Shall we leave then, Kentrips asked, but that was out of the question. I gave him a stern prod on the arm and proceeded toward the indicated gazebo. Amid the grounds of the snow-coated academy, a single garden shone with the colors of spring. 4 of us entered the gazebo, from which one could see the Schmalooms most clearly, while our retainers waited around it. Those are Schmalooms, Lord Ortwin told me, indicating a patch of red. Each flower seemed no larger than the palm of my hand, and the petals that adorned them were so small and plentiful. A group of 10 to 20 Schmalooms sat together in bloom. You could not see them before last year. Its entire garden was blanketed in snow. They can be found in northwest Jawanko, and the Ley Knights commonly use them for pain relief. Oh, okay. Cool. As they bloom with the melting of the snow, some even say they are remnants of Gaduld after Flutrain's rescue. What a beautiful shade of red, I exclaimed, gazing upon the Schmalooms. One can definitely see Gaduld within them. Kentrip sighed and took my hand. If you wish to admire them, then please sit here, Lady Hannelore. Let us finish this discussion quickly, lest we further inconvenience everyone's retainers. Hey, just to the seat farthest from me. Lord Ortwin, if you would. Lord Wolfie frowned. Why do you get to decide the seats? It doesn't really matter? Lord Ortwin proposed to Lady Hannelore, despite knowing she has engagement candidates. Kentrip retorted. For that reason, I cannot allow him to sit with her. Duh. So I'm assuming it's Wilfried, Hannelore, Kentrips, and then Ortwin. Unable to retort, Lord Wilfried took his seat next to me. There was a sour expression on his face. He must have been offended that a mere archnoble would speak out in such a manner. Kentrip shot me a knowing look. The stage was set. He would contain Lord Ortwin while I pinned down my This is going to be so awkward to read. It's not really bad, like lewd, but it's just so weird to read aloud. But sitting will make this awkward. Perhaps if I raise my hips and twist my waist around him. Oh my god. Just reading this aloud is so weird. I'm sorry, guys. It's just so kind of awkward. Like I said, it's not lewd in any way. It's just weird to read aloud. Knowing what it means, essentially. What she's trying to do. Lord Wilfrid occupied the seat beside me, yet there was still some distance between us. I measured the gap and considered the best way to prevent his escape, at which point Lord Ortwin held out sound blockers to Lord Wilfrid and me. To preserve Lady Hannelore's honor, we have permitted you to attend, but this is a conversation among Archduke candidates, he said, his eyes trained on Kentrips. Uh-oh. This is going to be interesting. I would appreciate your cooperation. Kentrips nodded, and with that, our discussion could begin. A member of my duchy seeking an engagement has expressed an interest in Lady Charlotte's or your introduction, I said. But as I understand it, Ehrenfest does not wish to take brides or grooms from greater duchies. Is that so? Lord Ortwin asked with interest. This matter was as relevant to his duchy as it was mine, because, I mean, he's probably trying to get people in there, too. As we speak, there are many in Jawanko who share that interest in Ehrenfest nobles. Okay, that's what I thought, too. Indeed, I said, as an Archduke candidate, I wish to know Ehrenfest's stance so I can best advise my duchy. For the sake of avoiding any unpleasantness, an explanation will be greatly appreciated. But of course, Lord Wilfrid answered with a smile, adopting a more formal tone to match the topic at hand. Due to our relationship with Alexandria, it has been deemed urgent that Ehrenfest learn to carry itself as a top-ranking duchy. The Zent's decree prevents nobles from leaving, but Ehrenfest intends to welcome brides and grooms to top-ranking duchies, with Dunkelfelder being foremost among them. Ooh, girl, you got an opening. Come on, take it. It's gonna be so awkward to read, but As expected, the birth of Alexandria had forced Ob Arenfest to change his stance. If he sought deeper relationships with greater duchies, and needed a connection to Dunkelfelger in particular, then an engagement between Lord Wilfrid and me could prove beneficial after all. Oh dear! I see, in that case, oh dear, this is going to be awkward to read. Seizing my chance, I am actually gonna, like I said, I think essentially that he is not trained as a knight, and thus her trying to anticipate him being this way, and then easily taking him down, is, gonna be awkward. She'll be like, why was that so easy? Seizing my chance, I pounced on my target without the slightest hesitation. I pinned him to the ground using my full weight to prevent a counterattack. We were face to face, his wide dark green eyes right in front of my own. Damn it. This is so weird. I wish to become your goddess of light, I declare. Give me engagement tasks. He's very confused, probably. Because I don't even know if they know how Dunkelfelder women propose. I know Rosemine knows because, Clarissa did it, and I'm assuming that she told Rosemine or someone told her at some point. Whether everybody else knows, I'm assuming Sylvester knows and all that because, he was around Dunkelfelder and the Early Academy and everything. But who knows if Wilfrid knows? Give me engagement tasks. Lord Wilfrid merely blinked at me. God damn it. His trembling lips opened a crack and he whispered, "What?" I saw his focus wander to cantrips and Lord Ortwin, but I refused to surrender. Even as he writhed and squirmed beneath me, I kept him firmly in place. Lord Wilfrid, give me tap. Oh, it's going to show a picture of this. Oh my god. Okay, there's cantrips right there, and there's Ortwin just watching. He is very confused. Maybe he doesn't know about this? He doesn't know, of course. Tess, what do you mean? Lord Wilfrid sputtered. He had not refused me, but neither had he acquiesced. He appeared simply confused. Explain. However was I to proceed? Lady Hannelore, Lord Wilfrid must not know about Dunkelfelder proposals, Lord Ortwin said. Oh, he's actually, seeing. He's not actually getting mad. I guess it's like I said, this was political. He was a picture of calm, contrasting the knights outside the gazebo who began shouting our names barely a moment later. Lady Hannelore, Lord Wilfrid, is something wrong? Uh-oh. The walls of the gazebo reached only as high as our shoulders when we were seated. From the perspective of those waiting outside, two of us had suddenly vanished. Their anxious voices grew louder. Everything is fine. Lady Hannelore merely stumbled cantrips to serve the knights, waving them away with one hand while urging me to stand with the other. Lady Hannelore, are you okay? My sincerest apologies, Lord Wilfrid. Thank you for easing my fall, I said, dropping my sound blocker and scooting away. I had made my move assuming that he knew about Dunkelfelder proposals, but if that's not the case, then there was no point in continuing. Rising slowly to his feet, Lord Wilfrid shot me a look of pure confusion. You might need to explain what's going on while you proceed. Lord Wilfrid, are you okay? His guard knights exclaimed. Yes, thank you. Stand down. We have more to discuss. Understood. Having sent his knights, Lord Wilfrid surveyed the gazebo, clearly disturbed by the fact that only he was taken aback. Lord Ortwin gave an exaggerated shrug in response. The look in his eyes told me he was planning something. What are you planning, Ortwin? No. Seems I'm the only one in the dark, Lord Wilfrid said, his expression turning from confusion to determination as he handed out sound blockers. He gave one to cantrips as well. I suspect you too have something to say. Thank you, the apprentice scholar replied. Once we were all carrying sound blockers, Lord Wilfrid allowed himself to sigh. Well, what in the world was that? Do you really not know? Lord Ortwin asked. That's how the women of Dunkelfelder proposed to men their fathers would not want them to marry. How does he realize what she was planning? Sure, seriously. Does nobody tell him these things? And again, they probably don't even think to tell him these things because it doesn't really apply to him or have any relevance to him in person. But I would have at least told him at this point, considering, the marriage prospects are getting Numerous, probably. So surely he would have at least one other Dunkelfelder woman wanting to court him, if not just Hannelore. So you would think that they would have warned him how they propose. At long last, Lord Wilfrid grasped the truth. He turned to me, eyes even wider than before, then swooped back to Kentrips and Lord Ortwin, looking deeply uncomfortable. Lady Hannelore proposed to me? How are you all so calm? Kentrip's composure made sense. We had planned this attack together, after all. Lord Ortwin's, on the other hand, took me by surprise as well. An amused grin spread across his face. What can I say? It was impactful, to be sure. But I took her by surprise in much the same way. Interpreting her proposal today as an act of revenge helped to dampen the blow. You did? Lord Wilfrid asked, cocking his head to one side. I glared at Lord Ortwin. Revenge had not been my intention. It had merely been my only opportunity to act. Furthermore, he said, I now see potential for success in my future. Huh? What are you planning? What's he planning, guys? I wondered what he meant. The sudden glint in his light brown eyes was a little bit intimidating. I came here expressly to support Lady Hannelore, Kentrip said. Really? Lord Wilfrid asked. Should you not have been stopping her? My reasons are my own. Rather, I am surprised you do not know about Dunkelfelder proposals. Lord Ortwin raised an eyebrow at me. Were you not too quick to act? It stands to reason that if Wilfrid was ignorant of bride-stealing dinner, he would also be unaware of your duchy's proposals. Perhaps, but I lacked the time to investigate, I said with a glance at Kentrips, who had urged me to make my move sooner rather than later. The apprentice scholar crossed his arms and examined Lord Wilfrid closely. Clarissa's union with Lady Rosemine's retainer was the product of engagement tasks. As you were engaged to Lady Rosemine at the time, I was certain you would have been informed. I know, that's what I'm saying. At least told her, hey, this is how Clarissa showed up, why Clarissa showed up, and what happened with that. A woman of Dunkelfelder employed such means to join Lady Rosemine's retinue, Lord Ortwin mused aloud, nodding in response to the explanation. That assumption is entirely reasonable, then. Lord Wilfrid said nothing. He looked as confused as ever. I mean, then again, Rosemine probably wouldn't have mentioned it because it might not, like I said, been relevant to her at the time to tell him that. You know, but still, someone should have told him. Again, Lord Ortwin raised an eyebrow. Someone from another duchy entered your fiancé's retinue. That should have prompted you to investigate, especially when you most likely have shared retainers once you were wed. I didn't know, Lord Wilfrid muttered, grimacing out of regret. Clarissa's actions were deemed so serious that when she went to greet Lady Rosemine during the Interduchy tournament, Lady Rosemine's guardians and Ob Ehrenfest began looking into her. Kentrip explained, we saw no reason to believe you would not have been aware. Lord Wilfrid frowned and said, Rosemine didn't tell me. I could hear the pain in his voice. How could he not have known? He was the next Ob and Lady Rosemine's fiancé. So you would think that someone would have told somebody, but then again, Lady Rosemine is not very, adept when it comes to social stuff and socializing, and maybe she didn't think that Wilfrid needed to know? I don't know. The entire situation seemed so curious to me. In the Dunkelfelder dormitory, Clarissa had spoken openly and with pride about how Lady Rosemine had asked about the manner of her proposal. So Rosemine knew, but she didn't think to tell Wilfrid. I mean, like I said, why would she have told him? Because it would, like I said, it wouldn't have been at least related. He wouldn't have needed to know, but because they were engaged, and he wouldn't have had to worry about proposals from Dunkelfelder women at the time. But still, that would have been interesting to find out. We had never considered that the fact she had obtained engagement tasks would be largely unknown in Ehrenfest. Well, if he didn't know, he didn't know, Lord Ortwin said. The important part is what comes next. Wilfrid, are you going to accept Lady Hannelore's proposal? I mean, he's probably got any time to think about this. This is broken out of the blue, I mean. Is what they said true, Lord Wilfrid asked me, still clearly uncomfortable. Why would I have done that if I hadn't planned on it, you know? I was racked with embarrassment, having leaped on someone who had not even understood my reason for doing so. I would have liked to dismiss the whole thing as some kind of mistake, but I suspected this was the only opportunity I would ever have. Yes, it is, I said, I asked to be given engagement tasks. Wilfrid's answer. Oh, an entire chapter dedicated to this. Oh, dear. In response to my request, Lord Wilfrid placed a hand on his forehead and sighed, looking even more troubled than before. Lady Hannelore, what should one do when giving tasks is out of the question? Is it not possible for us to be wed? What? Why would you not be able to? Excuse me, I asked, so taken aback that my mind went blank. But you said moments ago that Ehrenfest seeks engagements with rare duchies. An amused grin pulled at the corners of Lord Ortwin's mouth. What reason do you have to refuse her, Wilfrid? If you marry Lady Hannelore, then becoming the next Ob Ehrenfest will prove trivial. You can regain all that you lost when your engagement was undone. No one wants me to become the next Ob, Lord Wilfrid shot back. You are mistaken, I said, pushing through my heartache. I want you to. I wish you would desire it as well. I mean, it's what he wants. Just ask him, what does he want? Whether they want him to be the Ob or not is kind of trivial. It matters what he wants. Lord Wilfrid's eyes widened in disbelief, then wandered the gazebo as he searched for his next words. I could barely contain my nerves. The thing is, he said at last, as surprising as it was, I am grateful you confessed. During my engagement with Rosamund, I wished time and time again to have a fiancé like you instead. Huh? Really? Okay, that's news to me. Lord Wilfrid was the most I could manage in response. It astounded me to know he had thought about me that way during his engagement. As I gazed upon him, I felt Florlum, the goddess of flowers, began... Fuck it, that's supposed to be a euphemism for butterflies. Butterflies in your stomach. I never even considered that someone might like me, I'm guessing in that way. But... Lord Wilfrid paused, then cast his eyes down as if debating whether he should continue. As I am now, I do not have the right to desire you. Come again? Yeah, you might need explanation. In the blink of an eye, Shneas, the god of ice, had arrived and blown a Florlum away. So all the butterflies just went poof, bye-bye. I was lost for words, and my body trembled as my heart was frozen solid. Because you are no longer the heir apparent, Lord Ortwin asked. If so, marrying Lady Hannelore would... It's worse than that, Lord Wilfrid interrupted. Back in Ehrenfest, Melkor and Charlotte are competing to be the next Ob. It's already been decided that I will oversee the province of Gerlach and its surrounding area as Geeb once I come of age. Really? Oh, he's taking over Gerlach. Okay. As Geeb once I come of age. My father has instructed me to marry the daughter of an archnoble Geeb. Be she from Ehrenfest or another duchy. I mean, you could ask Ob Ehrenfest if he could change his mind, at least on who he gets to marry, whether he still becomes the Geeb or not. But then again, her father's not going to be too thrilled about this. Oh boy, this is more complicated. This makes no sense, Lord Ortwin muttered, his tone dubious. I know the cancellation of your engagement made things worse for you, but you were fully removed from consideration? I'm assuming because he asked to. I was wondering what would happen now that his engagement was cancelled. I was wondering what would happen with that. Lord Wilfrid responded with a tepid nod. I could not help but clap a hand over my mouth. How agonizing it must have been to endure such treatment from his own father. That cannot be, Lord Ortwin said. Such treatment is reserved for those who have committed a crime. He kinda did. Indeed, I made a grave mistake when I was young. It was only through Lady Rosamund's aid that I emerged as I am now. Then your engagement to her meant far more than we imagined. Lord Ortwin was correct. Had the engagement been a way to make up for his sin, then it must have been more than just another political pairing. Yeah, it was partially that, and partially to keep him from getting sent to the Ivory Tower as well. It also explained Ob Ehrenfest's resistance when Dunkelfelger and the royal family insisted on the engagement being cancelled. Yeah, that makes sense now. Considering my duchy's factions, I am in the worst position of all, Lord Wilfrid said. My engagement with Rosamund was meant to compensate for my shortcomings, but for several reasons, it had to be undone. In no uncertain terms, he explained how agonizing it had been to enter an engagement made purely to cover him for his faults. The pressure thrust upon him to become Ehrenfest's next Ob, and that he had ultimately lost sight of his own wishes and what it even meant to be engaged. What a wretched situation, and to think he endured it all that time. The engagement was miserable to me, so I welcomed its dissolution, Lord Wilfrid explained. Lady Rosamund and I are better as siblings, and nothing more. It was when the Zent ordered our separation, intent on adopting her, Father instructed me to think about the future I desired. I was permitted a year to make up my mind. Giving up on his engagement to Lady Rosamund would prevent Lord Wilfrid from becoming the Archduke, but an order from the Zent could not be refused. It must have been a time of great strife for Ob Ehrenfest. I could see that more clearly than when I focused on Lady Rosamund's position. However, during the Archduke Conference, Lady Rosemine became Ab Alexandria instead of being adopted, Lord Wolfrid continued. My father approached me afterward and asked what I wanted to do, but not even an entire year of contemplation had given me a clear answer. And so, Ab Arenfest had ordered that he become a Geeb. Gerlach, the same province into which Lady Hannelore took her knights, has long been at odds with its neighbor Liesgang. Selecting a Liesgang noble to take over would cause all sorts of trouble among the locals. Having an Archduke candidate become the Geeb instead was ideal. Not just for repairing the estate, but also for creating a window to Alexandria and keeping an eye on the south of the duchy. Lord Ortwin nodded, having listened closely. I understand that an Archduke candidate is the best choice, even with the details you've had to omit for the sake of duchy security. Still, will the province survive until your coming of age? Surely someone from the Archducal family should take over to heal the land ravaged by war. Arenfest has no adults to spare. Lower Bonifacius, maybe. But that hardly seems wise. He is retired and sees to the Ob's duties whenever father is absent from the castle. Not to mention his house, Lane's Liesgang. I was chosen to become the Geeb largely because, out of all the viable candidates, I am the best choice of the appropriate faction. So dire was the situation in Arenfest that Lord Wolfrid was expected to become a Geeb that moment he became of age. Such an issue would never have arisen in Drwalco or Dunkelbugger. Our archducal families were much too large. How strange, Lord Ortwin mused aloud. Are you truly not of the same faction as your full siblings? Lord Wolfrid shook his head. My grandmother took me into her care shortly after I was born. For that reason, I am of a different faction. That is... Lord Ortwin fell silent too, stunned to hear utter another word. I was just as taken aback. Being raised apart from his brother and sister made them more akin to half-siblings than anything else. And if Lord Melkor and Lady Charlotte had been raised normally, then I doubted their mother had wanted to give up her firstborn son. Oh, what a cruel act. Though I dared not put my thoughts into words, anger coursed to me at the thought of what must have transpired. Melkor is considered most likely to become the next Ob, having inherited the position of High Bishop from Lady Rosemine, praying to the gods to secure him divine protections in abundance, and he won't obtain his staff until after coming of age. As our father is still young and unlikely to see the archducal seat anytime soon, no matter how hard Charlotte might work, Melkor's chances are far superior, Wilfrid continued, and also the fact that he was a boy, too. Yeah, Lady Charlotte was a girl, and the staff she wielded was from her first year at the Royal Academy. Unless there was a sudden need for the current Ob Arenfest to step down, she was at a serious disadvantage against her younger brother. In any case, the next Ob will need an Archduke candidate to support them, Lord Wolfrid explained. A full sibling is a more reliable choice than the child of a second wife, and Charlotte is better suited to staying in the nobles' quarter. As an older brother from another faction, my presence alone would risk creating a divide. To summarize, making Lord Wolfrid the next Geeb Gerlach was the best course of action for Arenfest. Seeing his vacant smile, however, I could not tell whether he would truly be okay with such an outcome. Wilfrid, these are no more than assumptions, Lord Ortwin said. You're an honor student. There's no way to know whether Lord Melkor will obtain similarly high grades. My brother excels in all fields. Truly he does, Lord Wolfrid countered, shaking his head with a bitter smile. He works as hard as he can, intent on becoming as capable as Lady Rosemine, and I do not share his dedication. As it stands, he will grow up to be an excellent archduke. Lord Wolfrid sighed and turned to me. No longer shy or embarrassed, he now bore the countenance of someone who had given up and accepted the truth of his situation. Were you an archnoble, Lady Hannelore, or an archduke candidate of a lower-ranked duchy that would not threaten my siblings, I would gladly have taken your hand, he said. Or if I had known of better feelings a year ago, I might have worked with maddening devotion to become the Ob. That opportunity has passed, however, and Ob Arenfest has made his decree. You are an Archduke candidate of Dunkelfelger, now the top-ranked duchy in all of Jurgenschmidt. Marrying a Geeb from Arenfest is beneath you. Yeah, not only will her father be not happy with this, but Sylvester might not be happy about it too. But we will have to see. I see. If not for Lonzanov's invasion, Dunkelfelger would never have risen in rank, and I would not be known as a friend of the Divine Avatar. Gerlach would never have been ravaged, and there would not have been such an urgent need to assign a new Geeb to the province. In a world where Lord Wolfrid was a normal Archduke candidate, not one embroiled in political chaos, he might actually have wished to become the Ob. Could my timing have been any worse? Not really. It's not really your timing, it's just what has happened. The next Ob taking an Archduke candidate from Dunkelfelger as his bride would do wonders from Arenfest, Lord Wolfrid explained, but as I am fated to become a Geeb, I am not worthy of your hand. You would destabilize the authority of Melkor's first wife and breed a new generation of conflict, and that's what happened with Gabriel. That is the last thing I desire. I gritted my teeth, firm in my belief that I had caused Ehrenfest enough problems already. Nobody there or at home would want me to become Lord Wilfrid's first wife. Please accept my sincerest apologies, Lady Hannelore. As an Archduke candidate of Ehrenfest, I cannot risk sowing seeds of chaos or destruction in my duchy. If Lord Wilfrid had wanted to become an Archduke, I would have done everything I could to make it happen. If he had wished to abandon Ehrenfest and marry into Dunkelfelder, which they wouldn't be able to do that anyway because they're not allowed to have anybody leave Ehrenfest, only come into Ehrenfest. I would have gone to any lengths to convince the relevant parties, but alas, he had resolved to obey his father's orders and become a Gieb. Ehrenfest had nothing to gain from allowing me to marry him. Oh, I feel bad for Hannelore and Wilfrid at this point. They need to get what they want too. I see. My mind raced in a desperate rush for answers, asking again and again what I could have done to be bound to him. Perhaps because this was my second time being rejected since our game of bride-stealing dinner, or perhaps because I had thought of nothing but Lord Wilfrid for the past few days. A gaping hole opened in my heart from it. Mana surged without restraint. Uh-oh. Lady Hannelore, are you okay? Kentrix asked. I nodded, striving to contain my mana. This was neither the time nor place to lose control. I tensed my muscles and squeezed the charm on my wrist. Let us end our meeting here. The attendants keep shooting us anxious glances, Lord Ortwin said, then put his sound blocker down and rose to his feet. Lord Wilfrid nodded and did the same, spurring Kentrix and me to follow suit. Allow me to offer prayers and gratitude to Dragonor, the gods of time, for weaving our threads together this day, I said, speaking solemnly to match the tone of our conversation. Uh-oh. What's going on? What's going on? Before I could continue, the charm on my wrist began to shine for reasons I could not comprehend. Made for me by my head attending Cordula, it was engraved with the sigil of Dragonor. Its yellow face stone shone, and a light of the same color shot toward the roof of the gazebo. What? What's going on? Are we getting into the time travel stuff? We all stared up in a daze as it started drawing a magic circle overhead. What on earth? What's happening? And I rushed into the gazebo just as the magic circle reached completion. There was a bright flash, and in the blink of an eye, I was transported to a vast white void. What's going on? Oh my god, I gotta stop. No, wait, I can't stop. Dragonor weaving threads. I was staring across the void, lost as to what had just happened, when a woman wearing a light yellow veil appeared in front of me. I could tell from the tall shape of her headdress that she was wearing her hair up. Only her mouth was visible, but I gathered she could see me. She was facing me head on. The pressure she exuded made me want to run, and it suddenly became hard to breathe. Hannelore, it was tremendously useful that you summoned me with your mana. What? Summoned? Wait, is this Dragonor the goddess of time? Oh my god, another freaking goddess! What the freak? Why are they suddenly wanting to show up? Thinking back, the magic circle that appeared the moment I spoke her name, I had meant to give a simple farewell, not summon her. But there was no mistaking the fact that she was standing before me. So intense was her divine power that I could almost feel it pushing me back, reinforcing the fact that she was indeed a goddess. To think the gazebos were connected to her by more than just rumors. Do lend me your vessel, Hannelore. I must summon the Zent candidate who obtained the Book of Mestanora. Rosemine? Really? You're calling her now? Great, what's going on now? Under normal circumstances, I could do so without you, but she is shielded by a powerful barrier that hushes my voice and prevents my touch from reaching her. How unfortunate. What's going on? What's going to happen? Dragonor must have met Lady Rosemine, who had started to wear protective charms after the last time a goddess took over her body. I mean, to be fair, yes. I could not speak conclusively as my knowledge of the country reached only so far. But I found it hard to believe that anyone else in Jurgenschmidt was shielded so thoroughly that not even the voice of a goddess could reach her. Oh, holy Dragonor, may I confirm that you were speaking of Lady Rosemine, not Zent Eglantine, I asked. Truth be told, I was unsure why she wished to summon a mere Zent candidate rather than the actual Zent. Yes, I suppose that is how you all address her. Indeed, she is who I seek, the goddess replied, a smile forming on her lips. Lady Rosemine had transferred the Grutashite to then Lady Eglantine, but it seemed the gods still saw her as a Zent candidate. I mean, considering she still has the Grutashite, of course. Perhaps they did not consider Zent Eglantine a true Zent to begin with? A complex wave of anxiety spread through my chest as I sensed myself being embroiled in a plot with the gods previously kept secret by Lady Rosemine and the royal family. If we do not summon her, the past 20-some years we have woven together will come loose and vanish. What? What? Dragana continued, blowing away my petty concerns in an instant. More than 2 decades of history will just disappear, I asked. Only the Zent candidates can be involved with this incident. So, Rosemine and Ferdinand, eh? I was unsure what was happening, but losing 20-some years would be like an incalculable tragedy. If only Lady Rosemine could resolve the matter, I would need to allow the goddess to summon her. Oh, holy Dragana, if my vessel will suffice, then please use it as you must. Does that mean we're going to have Divine Mana too? Or what's going to happen with that? The goddess of time thanked me, then vanished, her veil swaying slightly as she went. I agree without much thought, but is giving my body to a guy really wise? Probably not. Considering what happened last time that did that. Not the same goddess, but you know. I doubt I am anywhere near as suitable as Lady Rosemine. Stuck inside the blank void, I can only wait, pondering my choice in something of a daze. Dragana returned a short while later. She must have been successful as Lady Rosemine was with her. Lady Hannelore, are you okay? She appeared to be dressed in some new style of riding attire. Vials ran along her chest in a rather rare fashion, but even more surprising was the intense look on her face as she ran toward me. Her hair was tied behind her head, and although she wore her rainbow face-stone hair stick, her usual flower ornament was nowhere to be seen. Wearing all these magic tools and face-stones, she looks dressed for battle. I mean, considering what's about to happen, possibly, not surprising. And how did she bring her here? That's what I want to know. It seemed a tad excessive for a summons for the gods, but then it struck me. Lady Rosemine was being asked to prevent some disaster that threatened to undo more than 2 decades of Dragana's woven threads. In the face of dangers unknown, it was only natural to prepare for the worst. Did the gods do anything to you? Are you in pain or losing any of your memories? Lady Rosemine exclaimed, frantic as she inspected me from head to toe. There's nothing to worry about, I assured her, free of aches or anything of the sort. I simply lent my body to Dragana and waited for the 2 of you to arrive. The problems will come later then. The goddess of time possessed you. Her divine power will surely remain and cause all manner of damage to your everyday life. Oh, God. Are you assuming that the same thing that happened to you will happen to her? I'm assuming that's probably what she's assuming. But is it going to, though? Come again? Damage? Lady Rosemine's concern quickly became my own. Dragana's veil swayed again as she regarded my friend with a quizzical tilt of her head. Hannelore's body is not like yours. It resists my divine power and is especially hard to die. If any of my influence remains, it should vanish in mere moments. It was never my intention to have it linger before. Her face remained covered, so I know not what kind of expression she was wearing. Well, what are the odds that her memory or something of equal importance is damaged then? Lady Rosemine pressed. In this case, I am the one requesting aid. I will not play tricks as Mestinora did. I need it only for Hannelore to summon you. Lady Rosemine let out a quiet sigh, and the tension seemed to leave her body. A peaceful moment passed, and she turned to me with a clouded expression. Because of my charms, I fear you have been drawn into matters most complex, she said. Please accept my sincerest apologies. Your memory should not be impacted, but you might face problems elsewhere. Vestiges of the goddess's power are bound to remain within you, and a nettlesome fuss will come from you being touted as the divine avatar of Dragana. Probably not gonna happen, but we don't even know what the heck happened while Hannelore was waiting, so... Back in the gazebo, the gods of time had possessed my unconscious body in full view of not just my own duchy, but Ehrenfest and Drawankel as well. The accompanying light had shone so intensely that many within the nearby scholar building had also borne witness to the spectacle. Oh, what a tricky situation this is going to be. I actually fear returning to my body. Oh, Dragana, would you be so kind as to elaborate on your reason for summoning me? Lady Rosemine asked, a sharp look in her eyes as she gazed upon the gods of time. You have said that 20-some years hang in the balance, and that Ferdinand is at risk, but not what any of that means. Lady Rosemine's recalcitrance in the face of a genuine goddess made me anxious, but Dragana appeared unfazed. She elaborated without question, although her response did nothing to ease my confusion. Are you aware that I spin the threads of fate? So the tales told in Jürgenschmidt say. And do you know of Wintosh, the goddess of weaving? She who takes the threads I spin and transforms them into history with her divine instrument, the loom. I know as much as is described in the Book of Mestinora, Lady Rosemine replied with a nod. In truth, I had not known about Wintosh creating history. She was best known as a weaver who appeared in tales about the former subordinates of Earth. Upon learning that they had been chased away, Geduld had wept and protested that she would refuse all clothes not made with cloth woven by Wintosh. Such a master of her craft was the goddess of weaving that cloth of the highest quality was praised as being excellent enough to have come from her hands. As a harmless jest or an act of malice, I do not know, but the thread of his fate was cut from the cloth of history that Wentush wore. I'm assuming this happened when he had refused the blessings to try and get Rosemary back in the last book. I'm assuming. You speak of Ferdinand's thread, correct? Lady Rosamund asked. Perhaps I was mistaken, but her tone seemed a little confrontational. I mean, considering it's her fiancé, of course. The goddess of time nodded, a smile playing on her lips. Indeed, the thread of his fate was severed more than 20 years ago. Never mind. Never mind. That one. More than 20 years ago. How? Under normal circumstances, a thread cut prematurely would simply be bound to another or removed entirely. But Ferdinand has been deeply involved with Jürgenschmidt as of late, has he not? Wentush was despondent, convinced that plucking his thread would change the entire course of history. One cannot deny the enormity of the role Lord Ferdinand had played in shaping recent events. After being rescued in Arensbach, he fought against Lanzanov, won a key battle in Gerlach, and joined the fighting at the Royal Academy. He had also attended a meeting with the royal family to select the new Zend, during which, as my father maintained, he had come across as a truly dominant force. At present, he was supporting Alexandria as Lady Rosamund's fiancé. I suspect his influence reaches even further than I realize. Excuse me. It really was a shame, Dragana continued. She had seemed so overjoyed at how wonderfully her woven pattern had turned out, but I searched for a thread of Ferdinand's color to repair it. And that led me to you, Lady Rosamund. Oh, my, does that not mean they are fated partners recognized even by the goddess of time? Lady Rosamund had obstinately denied the visitation of Blonde for the goddess of sprouts, but she had merely lacked self-awareness. She and Lord Ferdinand were destined to be together, their fates intertwined by Libeskelf, the goddess of binding. I could feel my heart beat quicker, but all thoughts of romance were blown from my mind when the goddess made her next declaration. I should like to use Steret's power to fully bind your threads and unify their color. Then I shall use a portion of your thread to fix his. Do you accept? So what's going to happen with this? Steret was the god of stars who acknowledged newlyweds during their starbind ceremony. So is this supposed to be signifying that they get married, like, right now? Huh? Okay. Interesting, but how is this going to help, though? During their starbind ceremonies, the insinuation was that Lady Rosamund and Lord Ferdinand would marry, ensuring that her intact thread of fate could be used to restore his severed one. In short, Lady Rosamund is being asked to give up a portion of her life to save not just Lord Ferdinand, but the very history of Jürgenschmidt. So, how much life are we talking here? Stunned, I turned my attention to my dear friend. A grave request had just been made of her, yet she agreed without a trace of reservation, and Ferdinand's gonna probably scold her for it afterward. Scold her for agreeing without even consulting him or even thinking of a possible other solution. Please wait, Lady Rosamund, I said. Do you understand what it means for your thread to be used for such a purpose? Perhaps there is another solution. There might not have been much I could do, but Lady Rosamund must have had some way to bargain with the gods. I thank you ever so much for your concern, Lady Hannelore, but Dragana's choice of words makes it clear that the gods care not for Lord Ferdinand or the threat to our country's history. She acts only because Wentuck is loath to compromise the beauty of her work. They might look like us, but we must understand that the gods operate on logic and principles far removed from our own. You would think that, all this happening, if they were not to fix it, that, Ewigalieb would break out of his seal that is Jürgenschmidt. They do realize that, at least. So they want to prevent anything like that from happening, which means keeping Ferdinand in the loop, you know? There is no place for bargaining or negotiating here. The gods existed in a world entirely different from our own. I had understood that much, but still, something had compelled me to think that the words of mere mortals could persuade them. Lady Rosamund assured me that I was mistaken. Furthermore, it is I who will suffer the most if Dragana changes her mind and advises Wentuck to give up on the severed thread, she continued. I have resolved to protect Lord Ferdinand no matter the cost. Surrendering a few years of my life is the least I can do for him. Oh, Dragana, might I assume that time is of the essence? Far from hesitating, Lady Rosamund was urging the goddess to hurry. It spoke to the strength of her resolve, but seeing her complete lack of deference made my heart leap into my throat. Yeah, I can see Ferdinand scolding her for this, and yet feeling touched that she did this for him. Dragana responded with a nod, no more bothered than before. She raised a hand, causing her sleeve to sway, and a wondrously ornate door appeared within the void. It opened to a room where a calm-looking woman sat with thread in hand, her auburn hair bundled loosely behind her head. She resembled the statue of Gadula from the altar so closely that I could see how she might once have been a subordinate. Dragana, I am most grateful, said Wenta. Pray tell, where might Starrett and Libeskelf be? In the other room. Starrett is keeping Libeskelf from my loom. Once again, she cannot help but toy with the threads. So all those tales of the goddess of binding causing mischief were true. Great. That's not cool. Because you could be one step away from that goddess messing with your thread and essentially going bye-bye. Just because of that. I was in the presence of two genuine goddesses, yet the awe they inspired was half-hearted at best. Something about them was hard to comprehend. In a sense, I felt as though everything I was experiencing was only a dream. My, you truly brought her? Came an exasperated, chastising voice. I understand why Wentuck doesn't want her beautifully woven tapestry to unravel, but using another thread to mask an imperfection. Turning to the source of the noise, I saw another legend approaching us. Libeskelf, the goddess of binding. There was a god accompanying her, clutching her wrist as if to prevent any sudden movements. Libeskelf exuded the aura of an energetic prankster, exactly as the stories had claimed, but she gazed upon Lady Rosamund with clouded eyes. You needn't play along with Dragana and Wentuck, you know that, don't you? For the sake of 2 centuries, I can understand, but this is a mere 2 decades she's fussing about. Would the pattern not look so much nicer if she just started over? A mere 2 decades?! Clearly the god's perception of time was nothing like our own. Undoing 20-something years would return to Jurgenschmidt to before the days of the Civil War, when even the smallest change could prevent Lady Rosamund or me from ever being born. Please, oh goddess, do not propose something that could wipe out our lives and our history. I swallowed my scream and maintained a smile. Lady Rosamund really had meant it when she said the gods existed in a world entirely unlike our own. Perhaps the custom of training nobles to control their emotions had come from Zeds not wanting to anger the gods during their exchanges. Yep, most likely. Oh, holy Libeskelf, the beauty of a new tapestry is by no means guaranteed, Lady Rosamund stressed. I would rather repair the severed thread than allow everything we have been through to unravel. Libeskelf responded with a curious look. Truly? You are both content with keeping things as they are. I would cherish this opportunity were I you. Rarely does one get a chance to try again. Did she say try again? Oh, we get to see the gods! Nice! Okay, so I am going to assume that, that's Starart, the god of stars. That's Libeskelf, and that's Wentuck. Oh, God. I clutched my chest. The more I thought about it, the more certain I became that I was not content with how things had turned out. If going back a single year, not 20, were an option, I would surely make the most of the opportunity. Wentuck, in her wisdom, has grown attached to her current work, Lady Rosamund said. I, too, wish to preserve her creation. The goddess of weaving allowed a slight, satisfied smile to grace her features. Not only is it beautiful, but it also brought peace to that little box garden. It seems such a waste to let it all crumble to dust. Don't you agree, Starrett? Starrett, the god of stars, the man keeping Libeskelf in check, glanced at the loom with an exceptionally bitter look on his face. His hair was black, save for a streak of gold through his bangs. Libeskelf can bind threads on a whim, but I require the consent of both parties. Oh my, Wentuck muttered. You can determine the consent of a severed thread, then. That is wonderful news. She means to have the cut thread bound, Dragana added. I ask that you comply without delay. And with how thoroughly she has been dyed, only a fool would question his consent, Libeskelf concluded. Were the man to refuse to be bound to her now, I would personally sever his thread again. Starrett had managed only a single complaint before the trio of goddesses intervened, smacking him down one by one. He rolled his eyes in response and played with his golden lock of hair. Their exchange seemed so human that it was hard to tell whether the gods really were beyond us. Fine, fine, the God of Stars said, forced into reluctant agreements. I recognize your points, each more correct than the last. It really is safe to assume that with how thoroughly this one has been dyed, they both desire to be wed. He snapped his fingers, and a black cloak trimmed with gold took shape around him, adorned with a brooch that shone as brightly as a star. He must have changed into his formal attire as a god. Oh ho ho, and in which case, allow me. Smirking, the goddess of binding snapped her fingers as well, changing into her own gold-trimmed clothes. Stara and she each wore the divine color of the god to whom they were subordinate. Lebeskov also appeared to be wearing more hair ornaments than she had previously. This way, Rosemine, Dragana urged. Lady Rosemine nodded, then knelt and bowed her head before the God of Stars and Goddess of Binding. The former swung his arm, and the void around us transformed into a star-speckled sky. A yelp escaped, but I clapped a hand over my mouth to stop it. We showed no signs of plummeting even with the sudden absence of ground underfoot. I glanced around in a panic, whereas Lady Rosemine remained perfectly calm, having not even looked up to see what was going on. Lebeskov pulled two of the accessories from her hair, taking one in each hand, and threw the bit to the night sky. They reached their apex, then came back down to her, bringing two slender rainbow threads with them. She untangled the threads from the ornaments before passing them to the God of Stars. I'm guessing those are Ferdinand and Rosemine's threads. I see. Time really is of the essence, he mused, his features twisted in the start of a grimace. He removed his brooch, which I took to be his divine instrument, and said, "May the blessing of the stars be granted." Starrett pinched the two threads and pulled them taut. They twisted together as if becoming one, then separated again, and golden dust, reminiscent of shimmering stars, rained down on Lady Rosemine. So majestic was the sight that it rendered me genuinely speechless, and tears came to my eyes unbidden. I had just witnessed a true starbind ceremony set in motion by the gods themselves. Oh, Ferdinand's really not going to be happy about this, because one, he wasn't there. Two, he's not going to be happy that the gods intervened again in their lives. So, I mean, I don't really want to see a side story with that interaction afterwards. The ceremony my brother had described to me and shown me paintings of seemed mundane in comparison. It is done. Dragana's voice snapped me to my senses, and it suddenly occurred to me that we were back in the Goddess of Weaving's room. The God of Stars and Goddess of Binding had returned to wearing their more casual attire. Now then, Rosemine, the Goddess of Weaving said, you must head to the moment the thread was severed, face the perilous danger that resides there, and reconnect the thread to my tapestry. Huh? So I really want to know what the heck happened. Wentuck's ring shone, and a light that reminded me of those given during first greetings floated leisurely toward Lady Rosemine. My dear friend was enveloped, then transformed into a strand of thread that emitted a veritable rainbow of colors. It swirled through the air, matching the movements of the goddess's finger before plunging into the cloth on the loom. To the thread you seek, Wentuck instructed, focusing intently on the loom without so much as a glance our way. Dragana placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder and turned to me. You were of great assistance, Hannelore. The thread should now be restored. It has not escaped my notice that Rosemine came with me only for your sake. To show my thanks, I shall grant you a single wish of your choosing. Oh, I can never... My voice caught in my throat rather than politely declined. Would it not be best to seize this opportunity the goddess intended to give me? As impudent as this request might sound, might I enter the tapestry as well? I would appreciate the chance to go 1 year into the past. Perhaps I could allow it while Rosemine restores the severed thread, but would that not change the pattern, Dragana asked, her attention focused on Wentuck, who continued to stare at the work in question. Not to mention, I purposely brought her physical form here to minimize the impact upon her. You are not, but your mind. Venturing back in time will make you more susceptible to our power. I cannot grant a separate body to use. Your consciousness will merely be sent to your past vessel. What's the problem, Dragana? You asked what she wanted, and she told you, Lebeskov exclaimed with an amused grin. And even if she does make a mistake of some kind, repairing a single year or so is trivial. Set on changing my relationship with Lord Wilfrid, I found the goddess's support extremely heartening. I even started to feel that there was nothing to fear about having my mind alone sent back to the past. My actions should not change history and to any considerable degree, I said. The change I yearn for is personal. I beg of you, afford me the chance to try again. That's more like it. You have my approval if no one else's. Sally forth! Lebeskov placed a hand on my back and thrust me forward. The other goddesses cried out in surprise and tried to stop her, but it was too late. I, too, was absorbed into the vast tapestry. Oh, good God almighty! Girl! Oh my God! You guys are going to be chomping at the bit for the next part, but that's going to probably be for tomorrow. And I'm going to have to wait. Oh, dear Lord, this is where all the freaking time travel stuff comes in. And all I gotta say is, Maya, you better have put what Rosemine did when she went back in time in the side story. Better have, or I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna be mad because I really want to know. Bad. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video.